Hello and welcome to another Make It at Home. Happy Thursday. This week you can make a woven bookmark. Kits are available in the Yaz. It's very lightweight. Inside your bag you will find a piece of cardboard that has white yarn wrapped around it, and then a ball of two different strands of yarn, one light and one dark. And then you also need some tape and scissors. So to get started, you are going to cut on the short end of the cardboard. And you want to make sure that the notches that you make are evenly spaced, and you want an even number. So we're going to do four, because I want the bookmark to be thinner than this one. This was 6, and I figured 4 would be better. So we're going to do 4 on this side, and then you can either use a pencil and ruler and make straight lines, or you can just eyeball it. But you want them to be roughly straight across from where they are. And then you're going to take your white yarn. This is your warp yarn. And you're going to start at the top and tape the one end down. And definitely leave a bit so that you have enough to tie at the end. And then you go down to the end, flip it over, back to the top, down to the end, until you've got all your notches hooked. And then we're going to tape this end. And if you have a lot left over, you can trim it. But again, make sure that you've got enough to tie it afterwards. Okay, so it's secure. Your warp is done. And we're going to use dark thread yarn first. And if you want, or if you have a plastic needle, you can use that. You can not use it, which is what I'm doing. But I found that if you are not using a needle, you can tie a knot or two into the end just to make it a little easier to grip when you're weaving. Okay. And then you're going to start either left or right, but at the bottom. We're going to go under the first one, then over the second, under the third, and we're going to pull it all the way through. So this is I think about 9 feet of yarn. If you want to trim it to 1 or 2 feet to get started, you can, but you don't have to. And make sure that you leave some at the end. You can tuck it through the notch if you want. And then you go back. So we went over the first time, so we're going to go under, then over, then under, then over, and pull it. And you want to pull it tight, but you don't want to pull it so tight that the warp yarns warp. You want to keep them even. And then you're going to use your fingers to scrunch your weave down. And you're going to repeat all the way to the top, or until you get to a length that you're happy with. So we're going to fast forward. This is one I was working on earlier. So you can see I've woven all the way up to the top here, and I don't think I can get another pass through, so I'm going to stop here. So I've got some extra on this side and then down here as well. And just close the weave. We're just going to cut the warp threads from the back and remove the tape. And we're going to pull this off the loom. And you tie the weft yarn to the closest warp thread. Make sure you double knot it. Pull that tight. I'm going to do that on both ends. And then to secure the warp yarn, you tie the two together. So there's 4 yarn threads, so we're going to tie 2 together and then the other 2 together. And pull it tight. And you're going to do that on both ends, so that your bookmark doesn't unravel. And then if you want, you can tuck the extra threads into the weave, or you can simply trim them, or you can leave them. It's up to you. Just make sure that you tie them off before you trim it. I'm going to trim mine. You could also leave it, and if you've got any beads that will fit on the yarn, you can add the beads. Alright, there you have it. It's pretty easy. It's a little time consuming, but I found it to be a rather soothing task. And you can use the cardboard to make any number of shapes. I made a square earlier that was going to make it a little bigger, but it turned out smaller. But if it had been bigger, I was going to make a coaster. So you live and learn. But it's super easy to do. You just need to make sure that you've got your warp threads and long enough yarn. If you find that you want to make something longer, on a longer loom, and you run out of the length of yarn, just leave an extra tail, and then when you add the new yarn, don't tie it yet. Wait to tie it until after you've removed it from the loom. Alright, like I said, the kits are in the as. There's a few left. Come pick them up and have a great afternoon.